Hello, season's greetings. Welcome to London's Hyde Park and the River Serpentine. Trust you're enjoying the Christmas festivities. If, like me, you think perhaps you've overdone it and you're thinking about losing some of those excess pounds now, well, a suggestion for you. How about the sport of rowing? Before you rush out and take me up on that invitation, spend the next 30 minutes or so in our company here, looking back on the Westminster Regatta, which took place in October of this year. Some of the highlights we've got for you. There was some serious international competition. We also had a bit of fun. We're going to be reflecting all of that. 4 international teams taking part: the USSR, Great Britain, France and Italy. And let's join the first of the international races in the company of our commentator, John Helm.
Yes, this is where it all begins. The crowd have really been looking forward to this one. The coxed fours, with Great Britain drawn in lane 1. And there they are, and nice to see 3 Olympic medalists, Andy Holmes, Martin Cross, and their cox Pat Sweeney. The Soviet Union too, a very strong crew indeed. And we can expect the 2 of them to be battling it out. And there is the Russian cox, Alexander Lukyanov, said to be in his mid-50s, though he might dispute that. And away to a good, clean start. Italy are in lane 3, and France are in lane 2. Good conditions, very good indeed, in fact. It's a rather dull afternoon, but the actual rain conditions are good. And we're going to eavesdrop now on what Pat Sweeney is saying to his crew.
It's a now! Good start. Lift the chest up over the knees. Leading it by about 2 feet. Relax out. Hit the beginning.
It was good to hear that, and obviously in good voice, Pat, and he'll be urging this British crew all the way. And it's worth reminding you that first place gets 4 points, second place gets 3, and for the moment the Soviet Union in lane 4 look to be going very well indeed. As I say, they are an experienced crew, and they're coming towards that finishing line now, and it's a battle between the Soviet Union and Great Britain. It looks like being a really good finish, this one. It's going to be close. The Soviet Union in lane 4. Great Britain are in lane 1, and I think the Soviet Union edged it. Very, very close indeed, but a good race to start with. Well, the British crew gave it absolutely everything. They gave it their best shot, but looking at the Soviet smiles, they feel that they've won. And looking now at Great Britain, who struck up a very good rhythm and were always in touch throughout that race. I think they probably felt they got it as well. Yes, indeed, Andy Holmes saluting there, but it wasn't to be. The Soviet Union touched first, and confirmation here, they won in a time of 1:26.97. Great Britain second, France third, and Italy fourth. So the Soviet Union take the first 4 points of the meeting, Great Britain 3. And I'm hearing now that France have been demoted to last spot because of a problem at the start. They've just taken 1 point, and Italy get 2.
The last 24 hours.
Well, earlier in the day, the Lord Mayor of Westminster, Elizabeth Flack, arrived to enjoy the day's events, and she was greeted by representatives of the organisers' rowing promotions. One race we were all looking forward to was the international single sculls, with gold medal Olympian Steve Redgrave representing Great Britain. Despite not having raced competitively in single sculls for some time, he started the race favourite and soon showed why. His power and technique left the others in his wake, and as they approached the finish line, Steve could afford to ease down and record a comfortable victory. The Soviet Vasily Yakusha was second, with Italy third, and France fourth, 9.5 seconds behind. So after 2 international races, Great Britain and the Soviet Union were tied for the lead in the team event with 7 points each. Now then, this is the view the cox has in the sport of gig boat racing. This form of racing goes right back to the 17th century, so it's full of history and tradition, and it's also a personal favourite of this man, the actor Rodney Bewes. In gig boat racing, almost anything goes, so on the turns of this 1,000-metre course, it's quite simply the survival of the fittest. On this occasion, the crew from Roseland proved to be the fittest, and at the finish line, they had a 2-length lead over Cadgwith, with Rodney Bewes and his Newquay crew in 3rd place. Disappointment then for Rodney, who still had time to explain to us some of the flavour of gig boat racing.
These gigs that you see, the coxswain of the Cadgwith one then is the second coxswain of the Lizard lifeboat and the mechanic of the Lizard lifeboat. And the gigs have a tremendous history of life-saving and smuggling and taking people to weddings over the Scillies and rescuing cattle from wrecks. I mean, there's a history of gigs that goes from 1600 and something. My village in Cornwall, called Cadgwith by the Lizard, had a gig built the year before last, and it's called Buller. And it's called Buller after a famous fisherman that lived in the village who's now dead. And to see Buller in gilt on the front of a gig, it means that last night when I tucked the gig up for the night, Buller was on the Serpentine in Hyde Park. And Buller went to Henley 2 years ago and came down the course of Henley. I think that's a tremendous memorial. I wouldn't mind a gig called Rodney Bewes one day.
Well, maybe we'll see the gig boat Rodney Bewes racing here next year. Back to the international competition now, and the double sculls. The Great Britain crew of Sal Hussein and Adam Clift drawn in lane 3. They expect the big challenge to come from the Soviet pair of Yakusha and Marchenko in lane 2. John Helm has now been joined by the Great Britain cox Pat Sweeney in the commentary box.
Set, go!
Away we go. In lane 1 for France, Luc Crispon and Fabrice Leclerc. And in lane 4 for Italy, Lucia Della Noce and Roberto Fozzaro. But most eyes will be on Great Britain and the Soviet Union here, Pat Sweeney.
Yeah. Oh, the Russians are getting caught up there. They caught a crab. The bowman caught a crab there, and it's going to give Adam and Sally a bit of an advantage. But they're getting caught up. They're going to have to clean it up and take more advantage of the Russians' mistake.
But they are a strong crew, and I know they do get on pretty well off the river as well as on it.
Yeah, they do. They're a couple of characters, and they bring everybody back to reality, the way they carry on.
I think they've got to be characters. Adam Clift, 26 years of age, comes from Rochdale, and Sally Hassan from Stoke Newington, so a very different type of character. But they're going pretty well at the moment. It looks like hard work out there, I must say that.
Yeah, all the boats are having trouble. The wind's got up a little, and it's getting a little rough. Sally and Adam are steering over the buoys, you can see, and getting caught up. I hope it doesn't affect the overall result. They're going to have to just clean up their act a little bit now.
They're also going to have to look out for the French, because Luc Crispon was a gold medal winner in the 1985 World Lightweight Single Sculls, and the French are coming up well here.
Yeah, they're starting to move. Sally and Adam are now going to have to not tie up over the last few hundred metres and just stay on top of it.
But obviously that bad start did have an effect on the Soviet pair, and I think that Adam and Sally feel as though they might have it won, but they're going to have to watch the French over in lane 1. It's a terrific finish again, just like last year. It comes to boiling point, does this race. Did they get it?
I think they might just have got it. They just kept it going that little bit longer.
They certainly look rather pleased with life at the moment. But the Soviet Union, with that, I think they caught a crab early on, and that badly affected them.
Yes, the bowman, if you watch his right hand, he just starts getting caught up. Yeah, he's just there. You can see him. He's just, there it goes. That was the one. That probably lost the full momentum of the boat.
Just like how close it was. Great Britain first in a time of 1:29.16, France second, and surprisingly the Soviet Union back in third. And that's the effect it's had on the overall table. Great Britain now leading by 2 points from the Soviet Union.
Steve Gunn, you've been involved in rowing at a grassroots level for a number of years now. Any youngsters watching today who might be interested, how should they go about getting involved?
Well, if they're not lucky enough to go to a school that rows, they should go down to their local club and especially learn to scull and get involved in the sport that way.
And how well off are we in this country? I'm thinking about a situation, for instance, whereby the Homs and the Redgraves of this world start edging out at the top end. What's it like behind them?
Well, British junior rowing is strong and is regularly winning medals at World Championships, but it's based too much perhaps on public school rowing, and we need more ordinary people, if you like, in clubs and not necessarily in public schools.
Is it an expensive sport?
No, not really, no more than any other sport. The clubs provide the boats, and so all you have to pay is the club entry fee. You'd have to buy a whole boat for £8,000 or something.
Well, Well, the purpose of the exercise today, of course, is to involve ourselves with rowing. We've got some junior races coming up. Anybody that we should be especially watching out for?
Well, the junior men's quad race should be interesting. There are 3 schools involved and 1 club, which highlights the original point. The Hampton School crew is made entirely of junior internationals, and one of the members, in fact, is a junior bronze world medalist. So that should be very interesting.
And in the men's junior quad sculls, we have a look at Westminster School in lane 4, Kingston Grammar School are in lane 3, Poplar, Blackwall and District in the white there in lane 2, and Hampton School in the red over on that far side in lane 1. Well, it's very interesting to hear Steve Gunn's views, and it certainly is imperative for the future of rowing that youngsters get involved at a very early age, Pat.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's not just for the Eatons and the Radleys nowadays. If anybody wants to join, they should go along to any local club, join in, and they'll get a great deal out of the sport.
And Westminster here look to be very fluent indeed in lane 4. They've got up to a cracking start.
They're doing it exceptionally well. I would be looking for Hampton, who have a long tradition in rowing, to be the strongest crew. But Westminster, they were doing excellent.
Hampton are just coming into your picture there in the red vests on the far side. Poplar, Blackwall and District in the white, not going quite so well. But it's looking good for Hampton School now. They have certainly come through ahead of Westminster. And unless something happens here, Hampton are going to win it. Hampton will be across that finishing line first, I think, with Westminster School coming in second. But it's a comfortable victory for Hampton School. Westminster finishing second. It's Kingston Grammar School third. Delight then for Hampton School. They've won the junior quad sculls.
Welcome back. Good competition on the water, but there's also a thriving social side to this regatta, with sponsors Air France and the London Electricity Board both entertaining customers and clients on the water side. Elsewhere, there's entertainment for all the family, as this event is a growing part of the City of Westminster's commitment to sport. Our next international race brings onto the Serpentine the Olympic gold medal pair of Andy Holmes and Steve Redgrave. Gold in Seoul for these two in the coxless pair, and they added to that with a bronze in the coxed pair. After the Olympics, there was some doubt if the partnership would stay together, but they have now made a commitment to continue. However, while we talked to them about their Olympic achievements, the Soviet pair of Viovich and Zubarenko were inadvertently getting into Steve and Andy's racing boat, leaving them to paddle down to the start in an untried replacement. A genuine mistake by the Russians, but how would it affect the race? Here's John Helm.
The crowd really excited at the prospect of seeing Steve and Andy for the first time competitively since Seoul, Pat.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this boat that they've literally taken off the rack and have jumped in. Paddled down to the start, and we'll see how it goes.
OK, they're away anyway. France in lane 1, Italy lane 2, Great Britain lane 3 and the Soviet Union in lane 4. But Steve and Andy are in trouble. They're in terrible trouble here.
Yeah, something's wrong. There must be a breakage for this to happen. There's no way that... There must be a breakage. They've put their hands up, but it's not going to do them any good. It's a special sprint race, and they won't restart this race.
That's absolute disaster for them. It's calamitous, really, for Great Britain as well, because it means we're only going to get 1 point out of the race, which is now left between France, Italy and the Soviet Union. But a real buzz around now as to what has happened to Redgrave and Holmes. It's the last thing anybody was expecting here.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see it a little later on. I would say that now the Russians should walk this race.
And it's certainly going to be interesting to hear what Steve and Andy have to say after this, because they are so competitive. I know they wanted to win, even though it's a friendly event. But the Soviet Union and Italy battling it out here. The French are out of it, and the Soviet Union in lane 4 coming up, and they're going to try and nick it right at the finishing line, and I think they've made it as well. Soviet Union 1, Italy 2, France 3, but Great Britain tragically down in 4th, scoring only the 1 point. Victory then for the Soviet Union, and they will be delighted as much as they'll be surprised as to what happened here to Steve and Andy.
Well, they're paddling back, but I got a feeling there is an actual breakage on that rigger of Steve's. We'll just have to see it from another angle.
Well, we can have a look now, actually, Pat, as the Soviet crew relaxes. This is what happened. Now, talk us through this.
They're getting off OK. There's a lot of power applied to the rigger, so the gate which is on the rigger, and I'm wondering if just the force just popped that gate out and they lost it. Yeah, it looks like it. Yep, there it goes. Yeah, the rigger actually went, the gate went, and they've broken it.
Well, and they will be bitterly upset, I'm sure. It's a big disappointment for them, and so Great Britain will only get the 1 point out of the race. And here we see the Soviet Union were first to the finishing line ahead of Italy. Let's hear what Steve and Andy made of all that.
Andy, Steve, very difficult to tell from where we were. What on earth happened?
Equipment failure. Russians nicked our boat, so we have to find one, and it falls apart around us.
That was the next question, actually. The Russians took your boat.
Yeah.
There's some confusion at the start.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We had to find this boat at the last minute. We didn't really have time to check it over, and as you see, it's full of bits.
All rather embarrassing one way and another, eh?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
We were half linked up when we stopped.
We'll have a moral victory for that. We don't get any points for it, but...
Well, in fact, they did get 1 point, but with the Soviets winning the race, Great Britain lost the lead in the team event. That meant the next race, the Quad Sculls, was vital. With the Soviets starting favourites in lane 1, the Great Britain crew of Clift, Buckingham, Burfitt and Hassan knew they would have to finish second to provide the team with a chance of winning the international event outright in the final race, the eights. Well, as expected, the Soviet crew led all the way, and at the finish they won by a length. But with a tremendous effort in the closing metres, the Great Britain boat snatched second place, with Italy third and France fourth. That was the result of the Quad Sculls, and it gave the Soviet Union a 2-point lead in the team event. But with 10 points for a win and 7 for second in the final eights race, Great Britain could still win. Well, now the highlights from the men's club eights final. In lane 1, Goldie B from Cambridge University. Lane 2, the University of London. The Leander Club were in lane 3. And in lane 4, the London Rowing Club. Good deal of tension on the start line. Promised to be a good race. We join it inside the last 150 metres.
There's a good crowd on the embankment and very enthusiastic about the finish here, and not surprising because it's going to be a really close one, is this. The University of London and Leander. It's between these two crews, and there's only a couple of feet, if anything, between them at the moment. University of London trying to hold that advantage as they come up towards the finishing line. It's going to be a terrific climax to the races, this one. There's literally nothing between them, but I think the University of London have just edged it. That's surely got to go to a photograph.
Yeah, that was very, very tight. Only the photograph's going to pull those two apart.
Very strong race, and it just showed how strong club rowing is, I think, there, because undoubtedly a good time put in by the winning crew, which was indeed, as we see now, confirmed by the photo, the University of London. They've just edged it from the Leander Club, and their time 1:19.41. Tremendous race, that. And the University of London win the men's 8 final. And this is their prize, a colour television set, which has been donated by the London Electricity Board and being presented to the winning crew by the Lord Mayor of Westminster.
Well, dragon boat racing has become a popular part of the Westminster Regatta, and as is tradition, the boats were blessed by a Taoist priest before competition started. And the blessing proved successful for these 4 teams, who all qualified for the grand final. The winner will represent the British Dragon Boat Association at next year's Hong Kong International Races. Roger Thomas is the commentator.
And it looks very tight at the moment as they come up towards the last 150 metres of this 500-metre course. Of course, in the international filings, they have to go further, a complete 640. But at the moment, it's Kingston Royals going very, very strongly in lane 4. Kingston Royals in blue, closely followed by Way. Then we have Tyne and Weir in 2, and on the far side in lane 1, it's Lincoln. But at the moment, we're having a really good challenge coming out there in the centre. It looks like Tyne and Weir having a good go now. And next to Tyne and Weir in lane 3, it's still Way going strongly. But Tyne and Weir fighting back, fighting back. In fact, it's the 2 middle clubs at the moment really heading into the last 50 metres. This is very exciting indeed. And on the far side, Kingston Royals coming back strongly, but Way in lane 3, they're really going. Weir are going very hard, and Tyne and Weir are dropping back. Listen, but Way, it's Way now. Are Way going to manage it? It's Way and Kingston Royals fighting for the line. Is Way going to just be there ahead? It looks like Way's going to cast it. Yes, and Way has just done it from Kingston Royals, and third is Tyne and Weir, and finally Lincoln. Well, what a very thrilling finish there from Way first and second Kingston. And third Tynan Weir and fourth Lincoln. Well, a tremendous final.
Wade Kayaks then, the national champions, and they're now nominated to attend next year's Hong Kong International Races as the representative of the British Dragon Boat Association. Now for the climax of the day's international racing, the eights with 10 points for a win and 7 for second. As the Great Britain crew took their boat to the water, they knew the task ahead. They must win this race to beat the Soviet Union in the team event. That was the situation, the Soviet Union leading by 17 points to 15. The lane draw, which provided no advantage to either crew, put Great Britain in 1 and the Soviet Union in 3.
Away they go, and we can see from Pat Sweeney's camera there that the British made a good start with Steve Redgrave stroking, Mark Buckingham was at 2, Martin Cross at 3, Nick Burfitt at 4. Now, Nick is the only survivor from the Olympic 8 in Seoul this year. He was stroking there. John Garrett is at 5, Simon Beresford 6, Andy Holmes at 7, and Adam Clift is the bow. This really is the blue ribbon event of any regatta, and the British made a good start, and they're holding it at the moment over in lane 1, but they'll be looking to lane 3 and their big rivals, the Soviet Union. Well, thanks to the modern technology we've got these days, we can actually hear what the coxes say. So as they come up to halfway, we can hear Pat Sweeney.
250 metres! 250! Karen! Now!
Well, Pat's certainly going to be hoarse tonight, but he won't mind if he coxes the British crew to victory here. And for the moment, it's very good because Great Britain in lane 1 are leading. The important thing is that they beat the Soviet Union to take the overall championship. Great Britain look as though they're in first at the moment. The Italians are coming up. They're closing on the Soviet Union, but at the finish it looks as though Great Britain have got it. And the British crew are raising their arms. They feel that they've won. We'll get official confirmation of that in a moment. It certainly seems as though they beat the Soviet Union, with the Italians coming through to take second, but as I say, confirmation of that in a moment or two. Meanwhile, we can find out what the British crew think about it down on the riverbank.
Everybody was up for that one. With the pair breakage, you know, Steve and Andy were up for it. You got it? Yeah.
Confirmed
Easy.
win.
Easy. Yeah, no, it's very good. Very good. In fact, I think we led it all the way down. The Italians came at the last part, but we kicked away again from, so...
A British victory indeed, and here comes confirmation of that result. After the photo finish, Great Britain winning in a time of 1:17.46, with the Italians rather surprisingly beating the Soviet Union into second place. So Great Britain win the team event with 25 points, 3 more than the Soviet Union. The Italians finished third on 17. France finished fourth with 11 points. Well, time now for the official presentations as the British team step forward one at a time. The presentations being made by the General Manager of Air France in the United Kingdom and Ireland, Monsieur Bernard Morel. So it's been a happy day for Great Britain. It didn't always look that way, but it certainly turned out to be a tremendous victory for them.
Proof, as if you needed it, that it's a little more difficult than it looks, and I think it'll be a number of years yet before I'm out there competing at that sort of level. But it is very enjoyable, and it's very peaceful out there on the water too. We promised you some fun. I think we've had that. We've also enjoyed some terrific international competition. Enjoy Christmas, what's left of it. Have yourselves a smashing New Year, of course, and we'll leave you now with some of the highlights. Bye-bye.